If you have ever sent hundreds, maybe even thousands of cold emails, and the only responses that you've got are things like unsubscribe, not interested, how did you get my email, then this video might completely change the way you think about outbound. Because most people think that cold email fails because of bad copy. You might think that your subject line sucks, or your CTA is weak, or your email isn't personalized enough, or you didn't mention their latest LinkedIn post, or maybe you didn't mention their dog's name. And that's what every outreach guru on the internet keeps telling you. And honestly, most of that advice is completely nonsense. Because your cold email usually fails long before you ever write the first sentence. It fails when you build a list of people who were never going to buy from you in the first place. And that's the real problem. And once you understand that, everything changes. In this video, I'm going to break down the exact framework we use to identify companies that are actively moving towards a buying decision before your competitors even know that the opportunities exist. This framework has helped generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue for industries such as staffing, healthcare, biotech, SaaS, esports, and professional services, and basically you can see all of those results on the screen. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why traditional cold outreach is dying and what's replacing it, and how to position yourself so prospects actually want to talk to you. Let's talk about what most companies are doing right now. And it usually looks something like this. They buy a lead list from Apollo, they export, let's say, 5,000 contacts, and they throw those contacts into SmartLead or Instantly. They write what they think is a personalized email, and they hit send. And this is what we call spray and pray. And that's basically their strategy. And to be fair, that model actually worked like years ago. But buyers have changed. And they have changed massively. Today's buyers research privately, they ask their peers for recommendations, they read their reviews, they compare vendors, they search on Google, they ask ChatGPT, and they consume content. And then they shortlist vendors before ever talking to salespeople. And according to Sixth Sense, buyers are often nearly 70% through their buying journey before ever talking to vendors. Think about how insane that is. 70%. By the time your cold email lands in their inbox, they may have already chosen someone else, or they may not even thinking about solving that problem yet. And guess what? Both scenarios destroy your chances. You're either too late or way too early, and both are equally bad. This is where companies lose ridiculous amounts of money. They contact the wrong companies, the wrong people, at the wrong time, with the wrong context. And then they blame their copy. That's like showing up to someone's house at 2 a.m. and trying to sell them insurance, and then wondering why they slammed the door in your face. Your offer might be amazing, your pitch might be incredible, but timing matters more than people realize. You're reaching out to people with zero buying intent, and that makes your email feel intrusive. Because it is intrusive. The real game is identifying companies that are actively entering a buying cycle right now. And that's where all the money is made. That's where response rates go up. That's where sales cycles shorten. And that's where outbound starts feeling predictable. And by the way, if you're already realizing your current outbound system is broken, and you know rebuilding all of this internally would take months, there's a link below where you can book a strategy call with my team. We'll show you exactly where our current outreach is leaking, what signals you should be tracking, and whether the system makes sense for your business or not. But first, let me show you how this actually works. This is where everything changes, and this is the part most people have never ever heard about. Because the outbound world is obsessed over messaging. Everyone talks about what subject line works, what CTA converts, what email templates gets replies. And almost nobody talks about the thing that actually matters. Why this prospect right now? That question changed everything for us. Because once we stopped asking how do we write better emails and started asking how do we find companies that are already moving towards a buying decision, our results changed fast. That's where buying signals come in. A buying signal is simply a business event that increases the probability of someone who will buy something. That's it. And once you understand how to identify these signals, outbound becomes dramatically easier. Let me show you what I mean by that. This one is massively underrated. Most people look at job postings and think, oh cool man, they're hiring. That's surface level thinking. What you should be asking is, why are they hiring? If a company suddenly hires 20 SDRs, they are aggressively trying to grow their revenue. If they are hiring engineers, they are likely building a product faster. If they are hiring compliance roles, they may be preparing for regulatory changes. If they are hiring customer success teams, they may be struggling with retention. The job posting itself tells you where pressure exists inside that business, and pressure creates urgency, and urgency creates buyers. Funding signals. This one is obvious, but most people still use it badly. They see a company raise money and immediately blast them with generic cold emails. Congrats on your funding round. Bro, nobody cares. That email gets deleted instantly. What actually matters is understanding what happens after funding, which is now investors want growth. Leadership is under pressure. Hiring accelerates. Operational bottlenecks appear. Execution becomes urgent. They suddenly need partners that help them move faster. And guess what? That is the opportunity. Leadership. This is one of my favorites. New CRO, new CMO, new VP of sales, new head of operations. These people usually come in with something to prove. Nobody gets hired into leadership to maintain an average performance. They are brought in to fix things, grow things, improve things, and they typically want fast wins. And that creates a short but powerful buying window. And if you reach out to them during that period, your chances of getting a meeting goes way up. Expansion signals. Now see, this is huge. A company enters a new market, launches a new product, opens a new office, expands internationally. All of that sounds exciting, but behind the scenes, it creates chaos. New systems are there, new hires, new operational pressure, new bottlenecks. That chaos creates demand for external help. And that's where you step in. Tech stack signals. Now, this is something that gets overlooked constantly. But the thing is, it is extremely powerful. A company adopts a new software or replaces an old tool, or maybe they drop a competitor or they integrate new platforms. That usually signals that there is a strategic change. And strategic change creates opportunity, because changing tools usually means that they are trying to fix something bigger. And if your solution fits into that transition, perfect timing. And that is what real outbound looks like. It's not spray and pray. It's not mass email blasting, copy hacks, AI generated spam. It's precision. It's timing. It's relevance. And once you understand this, you stop chasing prospects and start showing up exactly when they need you. Now here's where most people mess things up. They hear all of this, they get all excited, they find one signal and immediately start blasting emails. Well, guess what? That's amateur behavior. Because not every signal is worth pursuing, and not every signal means someone is ready to buy. And frankly, that is why we built an actual process around this. Step 1, we identify the signals. Step 2, we verify if that signal actually indicates urgency. Because sometimes a signal looks promising, but it means nothing. Step 3, we identify the actual decision makers. Now, these are not random employees or mid-level managers with no authority. These are actual buyers. Step 4, we verify contact data, because bad data destroys domain reputation. And step 5, we craft messaging based specifically on that signal. Step 6, we turn all of those conversations into warm introductions. That's the process. And this is where people really start understanding why this model works. Because this isn't based on motivation. It isn't based on just send more emails. And it definitely isn't based on hoping your copy magically converts. It's maths. It's simple maths. Let me show you what this actually looks like. Let's say you identify 1,000 companies showing legitimate buying signals. Now see, these are not random companies or scraped leads, or these are not maybe someday prospects. I'm actually talking about companies actively showing signs that they may need what you sell right now. What you do is then you filter that down to the actual decision makers inside those companies. Then you verify the contact information, and then you build highly relevant messaging around those signals. Now let's assume your reply rates land between 4 to 6%. Which is dramatically higher than traditional outbound, because these people are already in motion. That gives you roughly 40 to 60 replies. And let me tell you, more than half of those will be positive just because of the nature of the data that this system is based on. But again, I'm just taking the baseline here. So 50% positive reply rates give you like 20 to 30 real opportunities. And then let's say only a portion of those 30% turns into actual calls. Well, that roughly gives you 8 to 12 real conversations. And if your sales process is even reasonably competent, closing just 20% of those conversations can meaningfully increase your revenue pretty quickly. And I'm saying 20% because again, that's the baseline, just because of the nature of the data that this is based on. And here's the important part. This compounds, because once your signal infrastructure works, you're not just doing this once, you're doing this every single month, every quarter, across multiple industries, across multiple buyer segments. And that is when outbound stops feeling random and starts feeling more predictable. And that is what people genuinely miss. Traditional outbound just feels like gambling. This feels like running a system, and systems scale. By the way, it sounds simple, but the infrastructure behind it is extremely difficult. You need multiple data sources, automation systems, signal monitoring, verification systems, human quality control, messaging frameworks, and that's why people fail trying to build this. They underestimate how operationally difficult it is. And this is usually where people start thinking, okay, this all makes complete sense, but I absolutely do not want to build this myself. And honestly, man, that's completely fair. This took us months to build. The infrastructure, the systems, the testing, the optimizations. We already went through all of that. So if you want us to show you what active buying signals exist in your market right now, book a call below. We'll break it down for your business specifically. And if we can help, we'll show you exactly what that would look like. Now let's make this real, because theory sounds great, right? Frameworks sound smart. But at the end of the day, the only thing people care about is, does it actually work in real world? And their answer is yes, it works across multiple industries. The same pattern keeps showing up over and over again. For example, there was a staffing company that shifted away from mass outbound campaigns and started tracking hiring signals instead. Instead of emailing random companies and hoping someone needed talent, they targeted companies that were actively hiring for specific roles, which meant the need already existed. That shift alone helped generate over $100,000 in like 90 days. And this was not because their copy suddenly became amazing or they found some magical email template. They simply reached the right companies at the right time. That's it. And that is the only thing that matters. I'll give you another example. A healthcare company leveraged leadership transition signals. When new executives entered leadership roles, they identified those buying windows early. Because new executives often need fast wins. They need operational improvements. They need partners that can help them execute quickly. That strategy helped them land major enterprise partnerships. Again, timing. Specifically 4 partnerships. I'll give you another example. A manufacturing company tracked expansion signals, new facility launches, geographic operations, operational growth. Now those events create pressure, and pressure creates buying behavior. That strategy generated over $85,000 in new revenue. These all were completely different industries, completely different offers, completely different buyers, but the same underlying principle. Find companies which are already in motion, understand why they are in motion, reach them while that need is actively developing, and your outbound becomes dramatically easier because you're no longer trying to create demand. You're stepping into demand that already exists, and that is the difference. Now here's the reality most people don't want to hear. Even after learning this, most people still won't execute it well. And it's not because the strategy does not work. It's because the execution is far harder than understanding the concept. On paper, this feels very simple. Track signals, reach decision makers, start conversations. It sounds really easy, right? But in reality, that's where things fall apart. People track weak signals that don't actually indicate urgency. They move too slowly and miss their buying windows. They reach out to people with no buying authority, or their contact data is completely inaccurate. Their deliverability breaks. Their outbound system becomes inconsistent. And then they conclude that outbound is dead. It's not. Bad execution is what kills results. The businesses that win are the ones that build repeatable systems around this. And that's why this works so well when it's treated like infrastructure and not like another random experiment. So at this point, you really have 2 paths forward. Option 1, you spend the next 6 to 12 months trying to build all of this yourself, testing tools, building automations, learning signal tracking, fixing deliverability issues, building internal systems, and hoping eventually it works. And for some businesses, that actually makes sense. But if speed matters to you, there's a fast path. Book a call with my team. We'll look at your current outbound process. We'll identify where things are breaking. We'll show you what buying signals actually matter in your market. And we'll help you figure out whether this model makes sense for your business or not. The link is below, and I'll talk to you soon.